Hi everyone and welcome to Fresh from My Garden. Today I'm going to be talking about bolting in greens. So whenever we grow greens like spinach or amarnath or lettuces or any sort of greens that we use for salads and in our cooking, and also herbs like methi and cilantro, after a while we see that these start going to seed. So here you can see I have these fenugreek plants or herbs, and these plants are currently going to seed. You can see the seed pods at the base of the leaves that are growing here. Usually most of the herbs and greens are cool weather vegetables and they grow during the cool weather, and once the weather starts to warm up, the rise in temperatures typically mark the end of the growing season for herbs and greens. And once the temperatures start rising, that is when these plants go to seed. So these are the spinach seeds that you can see here, and we have lots of these that are starting to bolt in our garden right now as our temperatures are really warm and some days are extremely hot. So, when we are growing greens, we can always get at least 3 to 4 harvests before the plant goes to seed. So, if we keep harvesting the leaves of spinach or amarnath regularly on a regular basis, snip off these leaves as and when we need them, then it takes a longer time for these plants to go to seed. If they are not harvested regularly, the plants produce flowers and go to seed very quickly. They also taste bitter once they start bolting. Now, there are two things that we can do once these plants bolt or go to seed. So, one of them would be to get them out of the ground and you can dry them up and save the seeds for later or plant a new crop in its place. So, in my case, I'm going to be leaving them right in the ground here and let them dry out on the plant completely before I harvest these seeds. We got a good harvest of spinach over the season, and I would like to save these seeds so that I can plant them again in the next season. Here we have some amarnath plants that are growing really well, and we are continuously getting harvest even now. And though some of these plants are going to seed, you can see these little flowers that are growing on the stems of these plants, and they have a lot of seeds in them. As you continue watching this video, towards the end I'm going to be sharing a volunteer patch of amarnath that has been growing through self propagation. The best way to prevent any sort of diseases or pest attack on your plants is to save the seeds from the plants that you have tried growing and had good success with, and then plant them in the continuing following years so that you have regular good crops without any sort of pest. Whenever we purchase new varieties of seeds, there is a chance of new pests that are being brought to our garden and to our environment, which will affect many other plants that are growing in our garden. So, it is always a good thing to get seeds from a good source or a branded source, and then the following years to save those seeds to plant every single year and have a good crop. So now you can see that we are having small patches of amarnath that are growing, and these are all volunteer crops. We have not planted any of these, and we just planted amarnath a few years ago, and after that every single season we have continuous crops and we get to harvest these fresh leaves, and as these plants go to seed they continue to fill up our garden patches with fresh leaves every season. This is another batch of spinach that we have been growing in a grow bag and not directly in the ground. But since it's a big grow bag, we've just let the seeds sit there and dry out completely so that we can have a new set of crop that grows once the weather is right. You can also pull out these plants once these have dried out and harvest the seeds and save them in an airtight container before you plant them in the next season. Some people also save seeds to add to their salads or in use them in cooking, but we usually don't do that and we just harvest them so that we can plant them the following year. Now, this is a patch in our garden that has been self propagated and self seeded with lots of amarnath that is growing really well. And I had shared this in a video previously. So, we had been on a trip to our hometown for 2 weeks, and when we come back, we saw this beautiful patch of amarnath growing. So, whenever your greens start bolting, you can just let them self seed and grow by itself, or pull them up so that you can dry them and harvest the seeds for the next season. Hope you liked today's video. If you're watching my channel regularly, please don't forget to subscribe for more gardening related videos. Thanks for watching Fresh from My Garden.